So, Liesbeth, an amazing, big, warm welcome, firstly, to the Soul Sync podcast. It's great to have you on.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you for the invitation. Look forward to this chat.
Well, me too. Now, like I was just saying to you before we started recording, I was reading through all of the kind of pre-show notes that guests give me, and your one really made me stop and get out my highlighter because there was so much interesting stuff in your story, and it really, I got to the end and I thought, wow. So I guess tell us about, how you entered the world, your childhood, and kind of walk us through from the beginning.
From the beginning, the very beginning. Well, it's interesting you say the beginning because, even when I was born, I don't remember this, but I was told by my grandparents that when I was born, it was in a hospital, a lot of things happened because there was something going on between my parents. I had a father who was quite abusive, mentally, physically. So already at my birth, something happened in the hospital. So he wasn't the kindest man. And I grew up in a place with different cultures, my father being from Suriname. So he was half Indian, he had Indian ancestors. And then my mother, Dutch. So there was also some sort of a culture clash. And, there were things going on in this household, they weren't really pretty. They weren't really pretty. So me and my brothers and my mother, we got a lot of abuse, physically, verbally. So it wasn't really a nice childhood, not at all. And when I was 16, I tried to get away from the house. I had a younger brother, 7 years younger, and I felt I needed to take care of him. So eventually I came back because my father was threatening my brothers as well. So I came back home. But then at one point, I was 19, I think I was 19. I was like, I can't take this anymore. I need to get away. I need to live my own life. And that's when I took the decision to leave my elders, my parents, and leave them all behind. And it was a really, really tough decision. And I knew what the consequences would be because eventually for 4 or 5 years, my father really stalked me and really made threats, even death threats. So my childhood wasn't really a nice one, but I must say I somehow managed to get through because one, I always felt some sort of power. And even now, I still can't describe it. I compare it to, Star Wars, the Force. The Force is strong with this boy. But I felt there was always a force, or there was someone or something that protected me or helped me move forward. I still don't know what it was. Whether it was spirit as a collective, or maybe my great grandmother, or just my own force, my inner force. It's really helped me through. And I always had this thing that I could really easily start to get into some sort of daydreaming or visualization, or just move away in spirit from a place I physically don't want to be. And
when you was growing up before you left home.
Yeah. So
so you would
I would
you would try to switch yourself so desperately off from the
Yes.
situation that you was in.
Yes.
Right.
Maybe a bit of a dissociative thing going on, maybe even. You sometimes hear people say when they experience something very traumatic that they somehow sort of switch off and they're not actually there. So it's like they're moving away from themselves.
You was escaping from your human body and your human reality.
Yes. And this is something I only became aware of a few years ago after reading a book by Eileen Garrett. Eileen Garrett's also a medium. I don't know if you read her book.
Do you know what? Every time a guest comes on, I will be honest, I write down another 5 books that I definitely want to read.
But
I wonder, I will definitely read it. I'll put it
you
on my
should.
growing list of books.
Yeah, you should,
Yes.
because I think it was a very interesting book. She was into publishing and whatever, but she made this remark about her own childhood, which wasn't really a nice one, and how she somehow, by visualization or going into nature, she could sort of dissociate herself from this whole
Mhm.
experience in this house with her aunt, I think it was. And I think I did the same with when I was at home with my parents and there was stuff going on. I would just go into my room and put the music on or read a book, and then I was gone.
Wow.
I was
So,
gone.
so where was you when you say you were gone? Where were you gone to?
I don't know. I think, like I wrote to you, I just let my spirit roam.
Wow.
That's what I did.
So so I guess when you was explaining the story earlier, I can't imagine what it must have taken for one, you to have the courage to leave the abuse that your father endured you to, but also to leave behind your, I guess, your mother and your siblings.
Yes. Yes.
Another thing I found very interesting about your story as well was the fact that you grew up close to the red light district in Amsterdam,
Mhm.
and your parents had a cafeteria in the area, and you explained that because I've been to Amsterdam a few times. I really like it, and I know just how I can only imagine how colorful it is growing up there.
It was, yeah, it really was. It was the 80s, different era, and there were a lot of, the people here. You had all these birds of paradise, and back then in Amsterdam there were a lot of different type of people. Nowadays, people are less colorful, it seems. I don't know how it is in your place, but here in Amsterdam, I really feel the change. But I grew up in a environment with a lot of creative people, with those birds of paradise. We had the
Mm.
prostitutes, there were a lot of junkies, there were so many, the tourists, a lot of tourists. So I think until I was 18, 19, and I had to help out my parents in the cafeteria, I already met so many people from all around the world. And I also think that had an effect on me, in tuning to other people or becoming aware of other people and their energy or whatever.
Like in a psychic sense.
Yes, in a psychic sense,
Yes.
because at times I had to work there on my own in the cafeteria.
Mm.
When I was 14, 15 or whatever. I was still young, but there I was on my own. And I had to help out customers. And, sometimes
Mm.
you really need to take care. And I had some scary moments sometimes and some crazy moments and lovely
Mm.
moments. But I grew up and there were so many people every day and in the weekends. So I think somehow already in my youth, what I told you about my sort of dissociative behavior and, meeting all those different people, somehow sowing the seeds also for my mediumship in a sense.
Mm.
And
Very interesting.
yeah, I think it's interesting because really the book by Eileen Garrett really made me aware of these things. And I
I
really had a
suppose
thought.
when you're living them, because it's kind of like, I guess, myself, I didn't realize necessarily that I've been reading people for a very long time. I've just been doing it very naturally without really thinking about it. And even my business, doing recruitment, I've been reading personalities, emotions, all of this stuff for years. But I hadn't. But then when someone said you're going to do a psychic read, oh my goodness me, I can't. What the hell?
You're
No.
already doing it for years. We've already been doing it.
I have, but I've only. It's funny you say that you only realised it when when you read Eileen's book. But I didn't really realise it until recently myself. I'd be doing because I guess it's only you have to look back at these things and then you spot patterns, don't you?
Right. It's the patterns. It's why am I acting this way? Why I'm thinking this way? And you can only realize it once you look back on your life, and then really things start to make sense. It really starts.
Mm.
And of course, there was something maybe already there because it somehow runs in the family. sort of mediumistic things and psychic things. I think same with you family, right? With your family somehow.
Yes, with my grandfather. He was a medium. He went around to well, he was a very respected medium actually. And people would
Or
come and
not?
visit him all the time. Well, he was very good, but the problem was, I'll tell you what the problem was I was so young at the time. I didn't think of anything when all these people were turning up and he'd be giving readings in here. I didn't really understand it. I quite like the fact he had loads of crystals and loads of funny ornaments. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was young. I didn't think anything of it. And it's only now looking back with the benefit of hindsight, I think, oh, I wish I'd
Yeah.
asked him more questions.
Yes. Yeah. Me too. But my grandmother, I think my Dutch grandmother, she also, and that's one thing from my childhood because of my father. He didn't allow us to see my grandparents. So I never met my grandparents until I was my Dutch grandparents until I was 25. And his parents from Suriname, I only met once. His mother, I met once. So, and that's one thing, that's still a bit sad, I think, that you don't know that much about your own history. I would have loved to have this chat with my grandmother from Suriname and my Dutch grandmother. I could ask some things, but like you, I wish I asked her more.
It's only when you get to a certain, point in your life where you start looking back and thinking, I had a world of resource at my fingertips at a certain point,
Yes.
and how it's taken me to get to where I am to this journey. It's just funny at times.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask then, so you were having these outer body experiences throughout your childhood as a way, as you explained, of escaping, which
I think it's good.
obviously started to make you experience things, out otherworldly things, and then that stayed with you. Then was that consistent through your life, through your teenage years?
No, because once I left my parents, I already started working when I was 17. I worked full time. I wanted to study law, which I did. I started out, but then because of my father, who was really stalking me for years, it took so much energy, and I really had to be careful walking on the street also. So at one point, I decided to stop studying. I kept working and working, and it was very much in my mind. It was very much in my mind, and it was only, I think, when I was 25 or 26, when things start to sort of calm down, and me becoming more me. There was much more room, and there was much more peace and time to explore other things. And that's where I really started to get back into dreaming, and this whole paranormal stuff got my interest again. So yeah.
Yeah, because you've had paranormal experiences, and some of them, when I was reading the notes again, were absolutely bonkers.
It's like what?
Well, there was objects going around,
Yeah.
outer body experiences, things exploding.
Yeah,
Tell us a bit about what happened.
well, that was after my partner died. He
Oh
committed
yes, yes.
suicide. Yeah. That was Ben. That was with Ben. And talking about when my mediumship really, really took off, that was because of the death of Ben, who committed suicide.
You
And
tell us about that point in your life,
yeah.
because that really stopped me in my tracks when I was reading that.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I met him, and I knew he had suicidal tendencies. I knew this when I met him. And rationally you're like, okay, I
How
shouldn't,
did you know? How did
because
you
we
know
talked
this?
about it.
Oh right,
And I
okay.
felt it. There was one point we had a conversation in the very beginning. I just met him, and like you said, you automatically tune into someone,
Yes.
feel someone, something is going on. And I'm the type of person who just ask, are you okay? Are you okay? Can I help you? And somehow people always start to open up to me, which is beautiful, because I want
Yes.
to. Just, let me hear it. And then he told me, well, that he had suicidal tendencies, and he made several attempts when he was 17, 18. This had to do with he's been abused sexually. That's what happened to him. And over the years, he sort of started trying to cope by using cocaine. But, meanwhile, he was quite a successful businessman for some time. And when I met him, things started to, it looked fine. But then after a year, it got worse. And then he got troubles with his brother. And, a lot of things happened in 1 year. And all of a sudden, things just went downhill with him. And you just saw him retreat, and he couldn't be reached. And somehow I knew, well, you just hope he won't do it. I was hoping, okay, maybe there will be something happening with him and he can find resilience somehow, but he didn't. So in 2006, well, he succeeded in ending his life. But, when we met, the two of us, we were really connected. We were really soulmates. I don't feel soulmates are just partners. You can be soulmates with, for example, my stepdaughter, she's a soulmate. I have one of my best friends, she's a soulmate, but Ben, he is a soulmate. And we were so connected in life, but after death. And, immediately after he died, well, the weirdest things happened. The things started to explode. Lights started really to explode. And then I had objects on my table being moved. And I remember just before he died, 1 month before he died, I gave him a speaker for his iPod. He never used it. But I put it next to my bed because I listened to music all the time. But at times, the thing wasn't even plugged in, but it would make noises. And then I would feel cold beside my bed. And I just knew this is Ben, he's still here. I don't know why, but he's here. And I was like, okay, show me. What is it, And then all those things started to happen. And I talked about it to someone. I went to a medium and she gave me a beautiful reading. And then she talked about someone here in the Netherlands who did an intuitive and mediumistic development. And she said, well, maybe she should go. So I went, and that's when I started to go to the college, Arthur Findlay College as well. So,
well, because that year, 2006,
yeah,
the year that Ben committed suicide, what a turbulent year, because you lost your grandmother and 2 other people in the same year.
4 people, yeah. And I think, like you said, there was always something already there, maybe psychic or mediumistically, but I feel like in that year you're being touched. I was being touched in my soul. It was really in my soul, and it was like the gates were opened somehow. I think that's what happened in that year, because with all these experiences and the people, especially my grandmother and Ben, who I love dearly, both of them, you're really touched here in your soul. And I think that's with a lot of people what happens, when they have these type of experiences, you're being touched and they open up also spiritually. And they start to connect and they start to attune. And I think that's beautiful. But it's also a bit overwhelming and also fun, because I must have a lot of fun also. I remember there were times when things were happening. I was like, okay, this has been, oh no, I think this is my grandmother. And there was one time I was with my best friend, and Ben's father had come that afternoon to put up a lamp. I bought a lamp and he was helping me fix it and anything. And then he left and my friend came and we were sitting at a table, and all of a sudden all the lamps started to flicker, really to flicker.
Oh my goodness.
It was madness. And she was really like, oh, what's happening? So, oh, it's just Ben. It's nothing to worry about, but to me.
Well, because I just can't, to go through what I think, when I listen to your story, to have been through that as your childhood, to have left school, to even, despite those circumstances, gone off to do law, become a lawyer, to have
Yeah.
had, you know, those experiences, and then, you know, losing who you did. It was just, you know, what, you know, a set of circumstances. So the gates flung open, and you became a bit curious and fascinated, a
Yeah.
self-described fox mulder in the X-Files.
Yes, the truth is out there.
Yes. And so tell us about, because obviously I'm guessing by that point you were a lawyer.
Yes, I was already working
Yes.
with a lawyer, legal counsel. Yeah, and you know, I've always been open to people about my interests and whatever I do, even when I was working at law firms. And you know, I felt this need and this hunger to have all these experiences and to just explore. For me, it was just exploration. I was just curious, what's happening? Why is it happening? I really didn't want to know how it was working. I don't care about this. You know, it's there. I accept it. But I was just more curious about, okay, what's happening here? And what's the point of all this? Um, and you know, I like to explore. I'm just the type of person who just wants to find out what's happening and just go for it and see what happens. So that's when I went to the AFC, but I was still working full-time as a lawyer, legal counsel.
Mm.
So I tried to combine these two things, and yeah, slowly and gradually I moved into this whole mediumship thing.
Which it sounds like you know, you've been doing for years, by kind of attuning yourself
Yes,
to that world.
yes, yeah.
You know, it's a very contrasting life to be working a lawyer, facts, you know, evidence. Well, I guess evidence, there is crossover there.
No, but I think that's a good thing. And that's what I tell people because, well, I'm still a lawyer, right? I want
Yeah.
facts. I want hard evidence. So,
I
and
love that. I'm the same. I'm
yeah,
an ex-police officer. That's why
yes, well,
I
probably.
like evidence.
Yeah, but that's your personal mediumship. And I think everyone has his
Mm.
own type of mediumship. And me being a lawyer, I want facts, I want evidence, I want it down to earth. Just give me the facts. And I think if you're a musician, maybe you use music into your mediumship, you know? So,
You
um,
mentioned that somewhere in the notes. You mentioned that you use music in your mediumship.
well, I love music. And I
Oh, I
think,
do.
and maybe this sounds a bit lame, but especially.
No, nothing sounds lame on the Soul Sync. I promise you that. We like it all.
No, but no, like I was saying, you know, when I grew up, I had my own room, luckily, and
Mhm.
one form of escape to me was music, also music, and I think at points it really saved my life, music. But also in my mediumship, whenever I would do something, the first things that happened was hearing a song or music, and I knew what was going on. For example, I remember being in Stansted. It was one of the very first time I came there.
At the Arthur Findlay College.
Yeah, of the
Yes.
Architecture College, and you know, you had to practice or stand in front of this group and make a contact and blah blah blah. Uh,
Mhm.
and I heard this song of Bee Gees, Tragedy, and I immediately knew, okay, this is about three brothers. One brother died because of a tragedy, and that's how it worked for me. You know, it's so funny how the
Mm.
information is coming in, and I could actually see the rest, but it all started with a song. And it's
How
so
does the information tend to come in for you?
well, it's clairvoyant, clairaudient,
Mm.
um, and also by sensing. You know, I think it's a combination of things, but I'm very visual also, so it's in sort of snippets like a movie or a picture,
Mm.
very quickly, very quickly.
Being a lawyer by day, medium by night. Well, I don't know if it is
But
that
no,
way.
it's
That set up. Oh, it
it's
is that way round. Okay, I didn't know if maybe you was on job share, and then Monday you're a
no,
medium,
no, no.
Tuesday you're a lawyer.
No. It's right now. So it's just, you know, yeah, working in office by day, and in the nighttime, I'm the
Do
medium.
you ever find that your mediumship creeps into the lawyer role as well? Your strong sense of intuition.
Yes. But you know, like you said, it's always been there. So it's not
Yes.
really different. And I think what really changed for me is after 2006 is really moving into this more mediumistic thing where you're really touching spirits and you know, make contact with people in the spirit world. But before
Mm.
you were already working on a psychic level. I was already attuning to people already. And
Yeah.
I still keep doing this. I still keep doing this. So that's not really changed, but I think it's interesting how people react sometimes, you know. I remember one time being in a firm and someone came to me and he sort of bent over to my computer and he was whispering, he was saying, I, I hear you're also a medium. You know, and I said, okay, what is this? You know?
He's I can imagine. I hear on the side, Liesbeth, you're a medium.
Oh God, I'm
That,
still and hilarious.
did you continue to speak in that way as well and reassure him that it's not the best? You know, it's
Well, but the funny thing is, there's mostly men came to me. You know, a lot of women. I think
oh.
you notice already when you go to these groups and mediumship training, it's a lot of women. You know, not
It is a lot. It is a lot of women. I have noticed that in the times I've been to courses,
it's a lot
I
of
have been one of either two or singular man.
yes. But I think in during daytime, so to speak, I've noticed there were a lot of men asking me questions, not women, especially.
Why do you think that is? Have you spotted a pattern?
Yes, I've spotted a pattern. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I think they're still curious, and maybe because um, this sounds maybe weird, but maybe because I'm a legal counsel as well, they take it a bit more seriously. Like maybe you being a
Yes.
police officer or you've been a police officer, they did, okay, so you're dealing with evidence, you're dealing with facts, so you have some sort of education or whatever. And I don't know, I have this feeling sometimes then they treat you differently. I don't know. I don't know
Mm.
about this, but I think
Yes.
it has some sort of impact because I'm a legal counsel as well.
What, you know, one thing that I was really kind of picking up is, and this is maybe something where, you know, I fall down. Well, I don't know. One thing I noticed was you kind of just throw yourself into your mediumship. Don't
Mm.
necessarily think too much about how it's working and
Yeah.
you know, you just experience it. But I guess, you know, part of that is because you've got no reason to question it because you know it is what it is because you've had those experiences from, you know, a very young age. And
Mm.
I do think when it comes to my mediumship, my problem is I want to know how everything works, which is probably
But
why I've started a podcast about all of these things. And maybe, do you know what? Probably the irony of it is that's probably what's holding me up in my own mediumship going forward because
that's
I'm not just doing it, I'm spending all day talking about it.
no. I think that's a good thing. You should keep going. But I
Yeah.
think I also think by questioning it too much, you can limit yourself.
Yes, I do agree with that,
And I
probably.
think because then your mind starts to creep in, because once you know how or why, you sort of store this and your mind starts to work in a certain way where you will maybe
Question everything rather than just accept and feel,
accept it.
perhaps. Yeah.
And I think it's. I remember one moment also in at the college, one of the first moments where everybody's talking about the solar plexus, right? And where you should feel it, and I know, I know. Remember people in this break, we had a tea break, and everybody's talking about solar plexus, and it didn't work. I don't feel anything. And, you know, I was like, maybe it's coming from my little toe. I don't care. It's there. And for me, that's enough.
Yeah, see, I get lost in these things. You know, sometimes I'm thinking, right, okay, I need to swell me solar plexus. I need to swell me heart chakra. I need to do something with me base. I need to have some roots growing out of my feet, going round a tree log just below, sitting in the upright position.
No, but that's insane, right? That's, of course, you need to have to know some basics, and of course, you feel things happening in the solar plexus. I do feel sometimes, really, especially when you do healing.
But it doesn't have to be so ritualistic.
No, right,
no.
right. And I think that sometimes also in training that people are really rigid sometimes how things should be done. And I feel everybody should experience in its own way, and because it's a very unique and personal experience, right? And I train other people as well. You need to be your own medium. You need to explore your own mediumship, and not, of course, there has to be some basics. How is the energy working, and so on and so on. But still, it's a very unique experience. And I also feel that you should start by looking at yourself. Really do this self research and searching. And like I said, you need to look at your past also. What have I done? What kind of person have I become? How come? What is it I'm thinking? Why am I thinking this way? There's so many things that makes me Liesbeth and you Jason, but we're not the same. We have our own unique story. But this story, this life story, brought you here today. It brought me here today.
I guess that's the thing, and this is what I'm becoming. When you really think about it carefully, we are all so unique through the traumas that we've been through, the memories, the experiences. No two people are, even remotely the same. And it's, you get to, even if you're with a partner and you meet someone new, you can't tell them everything that's happened in your life or everything along the way. All you've got is the words that can come out of your mouth. And it's sometimes really hard to explain things, isn't it? I think you make I think you said something as well, which kind of resonated with me. I liked the fact there was a bit of cheekiness. I'm not going to admit, where you said, I do quite like to play devil's advocate. And sometimes I make people think about themselves, their thoughts and their behavior. And you've always been fascinated by life and human behavior. I am becoming more fascinated by that with the older I get. Why are you so fascinated about it? And it sounds to me like you really like to sort of take time about people, their stories. And I guess you say it in the notes as well. Mediumship is all about life and the stories of those who went before us.
Yes.
Tell us more about your observing nature.
Well, I think it's interesting, and maybe that's why I studied law also, because it's all about human behavior and the human connection, and what is it, what makes us tick, or what is it, why you are trespassing the law or whatever. But I feel there's so much to a person, and I do feel, and maybe especially nowadays, we could take some more time to really get the other person, to really attune, to really connect, to really be curious by about someone. Because I still feel that a lot of people are making assumptions, or they already have some judgments.
Well, we're rushing. We're all on phones, text.
Yes.
Are we actually stopping here to be present?
To be present, but also to really listen to someone, actually listen, what kind of words. This afternoon also, I had a short conversation with one of my colleagues, and I already felt something is going on with this lady. She's not happy, and she keeps saying it herself. But I also listened to her, and then I listened to the words she is using. And then I asked her, have you noticed the words you were using, just now? And she wasn't even aware of that. And this is me, I think. For me, it's all about making people aware about their own thoughts, about their own behavior, about the words they use, their internal dialogue, but also the way they are expressing themselves when they're communicating with me. Because there's so much also in language, in words, and it explains a lot. But I think it's fascinating, and
a lot of people, I guess, I think that what I have come to realize, and I think it's true with your story and with my story of, so much trauma over a 10-year period, it's just crazy, is you get to this point, but it's because of what you've been through. And then sometimes you look at people who are having a very different life experience and they're getting so caught up in things that, just, and I was guilty of it for years. When I first started my business, my God, I'd be worrying 24/7, which, then led me down a path of addiction and all sorts of things because, and I just wasn't obviously dealing with all of that well. But then you get to this place where you think, oh, I'm looking at that person and that's really interesting that they're doing that. And their perception of where they are, and it is interesting. And I think we're all on a different journey and a different path, and we're all living different experiences, and we've all got funny. And the thing is, we're all on this world, but we're all living a very different reality.
But it's fascinating, is it?
It is fascinating. But I
People,
guess the thing is, we're not present enough sometimes to actually stop and think about it.
No. And I think that's the type of awareness we need today, because more present, to be more in the now. And by being present, you're more able, I think, to really attune to someone else, to take the time and the energy to really know someone, or to just acknowledge someone. I notice even here in Amsterdam, if you just smile, or you're in a subway, you just smile, but people nowadays are just like this,
They are. They are. Everyone's looking down at their
and,
phone. Even sometimes I'm doing it at times, and I know I should. You're not
the
taking in the beauty of what surrounds you.
eye contact, just eye contact and a smile, and people, it's amazing.
And do you know what? In the world we live in now, a smile used to go a long way, but it probably goes even further now because it's not a lot. We are all, well, it is that whole funny thing, isn't it? We're more connected than we've ever been. We're sat in different countries right now, but in the actual present of the moment, it is killing a lot in that sense. I wanted to come on to, and I guess this really nicely dovetails on that, you said in the show notes again, which I keep referring back to, but they're so interesting, I can't not. So, you said that, you're very convinced deep down that we all really know who we are.
Yes.
Who actually are we, the actual essence of us without all of these lived experiences? Who are we when we first came into the world? That kind of, I guess, purity. Tell us more about that, your thoughts on that.
Well, the thing is, when you talk about purity, I always talk about nature, your own nature. And one of my mantras or taglines, maybe even, is you should never deny your nature. Allow yourself to be you. And there's a certain theme, for 15 years now, I've been doing consultations and workshops and so on and so on. And a lot of people come to me and, we're doing this consultation and I tell them things and they keep saying things like, yes, I felt, but I thought, just these few words. I felt it, but I thought. So deep down, people already know who they are or what they want. But I think that's not the difficult part. I think the most difficult part for a lot of people is to follow up on that, to follow up on actually being you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. To actually
listen
to your actual, how you feel, your intuition, and not let the logical mind, that I sometimes call it the really annoying lodger in my mind, the lodger of myself.
Well, your own mind maybe, but it could be your own judgment, but it could be the outer world, for example.
It could be other people.
Other people telling you what to do or how you should be or how you should behave. So it's this outer world pulling you from your inner world. And I always say the more you focus on you, the less the outer world will affect you. And I don't mean this from a selfish or egotistical point of view, but I believe I'm the most important person in the world.
Well, you are.
Yeah.
Without you putting yourself number one, there's
Yeah.
not going to be another you.
No, but without doing this, I can't make other things work. Not
Well,
in
you
my.
can't. If you're putting yourself as number three, and then I've always said, and I'm so glad you said that, because if I don't put myself as number one, I'm not going to be here to look after number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Mm.
But have you noticed how many people don't do that? And they find all sorts of excuses. Well, for some people, it's a real thing because there are things going on, or maybe it's their health or whatever. But for most of us who are healthy and sane and so on and so on, you could say, okay, what is it that you can't follow up on actually being? Because that's the scariest part, because then they have to take action. Or maybe should do something, or they shouldn't, or they should stop something. But it's not that part of, I don't know what to do, or I don't know who I am. I don't think so.
I think the problem is, I think you make a good point there again, because it can be so many different things. It might be people pleasing. It might be a lack of self-love in yourself, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
It could be, you know, there's so many things it could be. And I think that I've always put myself as number one. I've always had quite a strong desire to do that. But I think it's because my mum had me when she was very young, and I felt I was looking after her at times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she had me when she was like just turned 18.
Oh, then,
So I think that you know, at times I probably felt more like the parent, but you know,
oh, could be. Yeah, that's,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's interesting. Um,
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of, you know, round off on this conversation, because I think honestly, there's so much you've said, which I think, you know, I don't think you probably realize yourself. Some of the things you say to a lot of people are going to really find that profound. But to you, it's just where you are, your lived experience is what you believe now. So, sort of moving on to, I guess, what you think people should be doing based on all your lived experience. I'm going down a rabbit hole now. I know I am. I do this on the Soul Sync. I
No.
start asking a question and then I go down a rabbit
Yeah,
hole and I
but
don't come.
it's so hard from my experience, because you should never compare yourself. There's a beautiful quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. In nature, everything just is.
It is.
It is, because there are no two horses that one horse is looking at the other horse and thinking, oh, she's so much more beautiful, or she has longer legs and blah, blah, blah. We are the only species doing these type of things, and this mind is going on and on and on and on. And I would love for people to just allow themselves to be, and to just open up and let their spirit roam, whereby they can attune and connect to self, to others, to nature, to the beyond, because there's support, there's love, there's everything. But I think it's a shame, because I would love for everyone to have these experiences I had. I don't mean the nasty ones, but the beautiful ones, where once you start to allow yourself to actually be, I think that's the greatest gift you can give yourself.
I agree.
You never deny your nature, because once you do that, there are so many things happening. That people, they start to having a burnout, they're getting depressed, they're getting really physical ailments. It has such a tremendous effect if you don't allow yourself to be. I use this phrase very often because I think it's so true. It's all about allowing
Do you
to.
know what? You come back again. That was what I was thinking. I was thinking this. It is all about, if people listened to their true, like you say, nature. I might say listening to your own feelings and intuition, but however you want to dress it up,
Yes.
I think the world would be a nicer place. I think people wouldn't be as ill, because I've really started looking even, you know, very differently recently at, you know, even physical illness. How many people I look at them and I think, it sounds really horrible to say this, but you know, an unhealthy mind does bring physical, you know, conditions.
It's true. And actually, this afternoon was another example from someone at the office. It really showed the way she's feeling and the way she's putting words into her own head by using certain words. They have an energy, and this energy
They do
will,
have an energy.
and this will energy will affect your body, your mind, everything. And some people are totally oblivious to this. And I think that's, you know, it's such a shame. If we could educate people, and I think it should start at schools, you know,
I agree with that.
schools,
It
and
should.
really sort of, you know, how to take care of you, and learn them and teach them some life skills, you know.
Do you know why it needs to start now? And I think it's really important is because I think children now are so early on given devices, and it's always about, you know, this expert's telling you this person's telling you this person's telling you this. Who's telling children to listen to themselves?
Yeah, I think no one, no one.
No.
But yeah, well,
Well, I
maybe
don't want to end the show on a really depressing note.
no,
That's not what we
no, no,
want.
no, 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 no. Because I have some good news.
Oh, good, good,
No,
good.
no,
We're turning it around.
yeah, I read somewhere that there is a plan somewhere. I don't know if it's United States that they want uh, people or children until they're 14 or 16, that they don't have any mobiles till they're 14 or 16. And I think that's a very good idea. But, you know, that's for other people to decide in, but I think it's a good thing. But
I think it would be a good thing. I think, you know,
yes,
yes, use a computer in a school for studies and, you know, things that are educational. But I do
no
think that yeah,
thing.
it's that
They
they are a problem.
no, but maybe not just children, maybe even adults. But I think it's all
I think the
about
problem with a phone is it's used as a pacifying device from a young age.
yes. Well,
Yes, it is. It's the modern day rattle.
oh no,
It's
but we keep doing this right now.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're showing children what to do. These come from adults as well, but you know, I very much have hope that we, you know, do get back into that direction. Do you know what? I have loved talking to you. I always ask, well, I don't always ask, I'm lying. Sometimes I forget, but I always say to guests, do they want to leave with a final thought? You know, an
Yes.
anecdote, pearl of wisdom?
Well, no wisdom. I think, you know, life's too short. That's for true. But I think the one thing I sometimes miss, not just in life, but also in mediumship, because this is also a little bit about mediumship. It's about life,
Hmm.
joy, the joy. Keep trying to find the joy every day. I think it's so important because I know from my own experience, if every day there's something that can give you some joy, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, you know, a walk with the dog, or just watering your plants, or sitting on the couch with your partner or your children,
Hmm.
do something every day that gives you joy, because people take themselves so seriously. But I notice the effect of really enjoying something, and not just in life, but also in the things you want to pursue, whether it's in the mediumship or in other things. But there's people put so much stress upon themselves, you know,
Hmm.
always looking for a result or whatever. But I think you should rather enjoy this whole experience, no matter what the outcome is. And I think things will be very different then, and you will experience it very differently. So try to keep find this joy in life.
Liesbeth, I don't know what to say. I think that was the most loveliest way to end
I
the
think that,
show. I think, yes, I think it was beautiful. And do you know what? I think your story is so interesting. And I think everything you say, it comes from such a place of joy and such a place of, you know, really
yeah,
seeing the beauty in, you know, everything that surrounds. And I love that. So
yeah.
thank you for coming on the Soul Sync.
Thank you so much, Jason. I really loved it. And keep doing this, because I think it's wonderful, you know, for people to have all these insights and another experience to learn and to live and to enjoy.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.